Lesson 119. Good morning. We are winding up this course. I'll just give you a little heads up. 120 is a lesson that teaches the box and whisker plotting, and it's a formula for graphing that is really old school, so I think we will skip that one. We will do lesson 120, but we'll be skipping the new stuff. So this should be the last new stuff we teach, and then we're ready for the review and the test. But today we just want to stress, I think we've already learned it somewhat, but you need to memorize the quadratic formula. And remember, I memorize it, so I think you can do it too. You just need to be able to go to your piece of paper, and quadratic formula is, and this is what you need to do, be able to do this. It's b plus or minus square root. Remember that if I can do this, you can do it too. Sorry. This is b squared negative 4ac over 2a. You need to be able to write that out from memory. So make sure that you learn that, learn it thoroughly, be able to do this. Okay, and then I'm going to show you, this is then to solve this, you should do something like this. This is where b is at. I'll put this, then a plus and minus. Again, where b is at, we'll do this, and this is 4, and here's a, and here is c, over 2, and this is a. Then we fill those in. Once we know what a equals, b equals, and c equals, we can fill these in, because this would be b, whatever that is, and this would be b here, and then a goes here and here, and c goes here. Be able to memorize that. We're ready for your test. Okay, but we will start then on your new stuff for today. Number 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the new. First off, we will write the 8 in descending order. So we have a 2x squared negative 3x, and it is negative 10 equals 0. Write that out into that formula for 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, and then we start off. The quadratic formula is negative b, I'll put b like this, plus or minus the square root of b squared negative 4ac over 2a. You need to memorize that. Keep working on it until you get that straight, because your test will be necessary. Now what we have here is, what is a, b, and c? Watch this closely. A is this number right here, and these are in order. That's why if you have it in descending order, it's easy to do. This is a, this is b, and this is c. Does not include the x's. So where a is at, I will put a is right here. I know this, 2, and a is here. This is 2. Where b is at is negative 3 and negative 3. And c is negative 10. And then you work out the problem and simplify it as much as you can. The opposite of negative 3 is a positive 3, plus or minus. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 10 is positive 80. So really, here's what we have. I'll rewrite it now, and 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to rewrite this like this. Positive 3 plus or minus 9 plus 8 is the square root of 89 over 2 times 2 is 4. Often you can simplify the square root. In this case, we cannot. 89 cannot be simplified, so there is your answer. And understandable, we have 3 more to go. Hope you understand all the steps. I'll do them for you, but I want you to have your head on your shoulders, be thinking, and try to figure this ahead of me. Try to beat me as I do this. Here we go. That was 8. Number 9, I'm going to rewrite it first, and I see a x squared, negative 2x, and a negative 5 equals 0. Again, quadratic formula. Plus or minus squared there's no number here for, this is A number, and this is B, and this is C. There's no number, but what do we understand to be here in front of there's no number? It's understood to be a 1. So where A is at, this is A, I put a 1, and this is A, I put a 1. Where B is at, I put a negative 2 and a negative 2, and where C is at is a negative 5. Now I begin to work this out. The opposite of negative 2 is a positive 2, plus or minus. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 times 1 times 5 is 20, and the two negatives, that makes it a positive 20. Total is 24. Now rewrite this as a positive 2 plus or minus square root of 24 over 2 times 1 is 2. Now this one is one that we can simplify. The 24 can be simplified. 2 is 12, 2 is 6, and 2 and 3. So we have an ordered pair of 2. My answer is going to be 2 to the square root of 6 for this. I'm going to erase this. 2 to the square root of 6. One more step here. This is I want you to really catch this now. You always look at these three numbers and see if you can simplify those. Well, will anything go into them? You cannot do two of them. It has to be all three. So in other words, this, and this, 2 can be divided into all of those, which makes those a 1. Only if you can do all of them, you cannot just do several. You got a 1, and a 1. What's my final answer? I can take, this is understood that we could just take that off, right? So I take that off, this one's underneath, so I don't need that. And that is my final answer. I'll rewrite it a bit neater. Positive 1 plus or minus square root of 6. That is your answer. That is number 9. Number 10, I hope you're getting the formulas and all of this in your head. Plus 2x, negative 11. They actually have this one all set up here for us. Okay, again, this is helpful to rewrite this every time. Here we go. This is going to be a negative plus or minus square root negative. Sorry, I don't need this. This is already solved for us. This is 4 over 2. Okay, and this is A and B and C. A is understood to be 1. Words are A right here. This is positive 1, and this is positive 1. The B is a positive 2. 2, I'll just put 2 like this. And the C is a negative 11. Okay, easy enough to solve. This is a negative 2 plus or minus. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times, this is 11. 4 times 11, that is 44. Times 1 is still 44, and 2 negatives makes a positive, so I have a positive 44 over 2. Square root of 48. Negative 2 plus or minus square root of 48 over 2. Can 48 be reduced? I think so. It can be simplified. 2 is 24. 2 is 12. 2 is 6. 2 is 3. We have 2 pairs here. 2 times 2 is 4 to the square root of 3. That makes sense? Erase this. 2 times 2 is 4 to the square root of 3. 4 to the square root of 3. Now, one more time, we can simplify these because the 2 will go into this one, and this one. So we reduce them down. Oh, that's going to make this a 1, make this one a 1, and make this a 2. And of course, we don't need the 1, so we can erase that. And there is your final answer. -1 plus or minus 2 to the square root of 3. That is number 10. Number 11. Number 11 is a 5x squared -6x -4 equals 0. Quadratic formula, negative plus or minus b squared -4 over 2, and this is A, this is B, and this is C. A is 5, that's here and here. B is -6 and -6, and C is -4. Hopefully that becomes routine by now. Opposite of -6 is a +6, plus or minus. -6 times -6 is a 36. 4 times 5 times 4, that is 20. That 20 times 4, that should be 80. And this looks like a +80. 80 plus 36 is 116. All right, rewrite it. +6 plus or minus square root of 116 over 2 times 5 is 10. Can we simplify 116? I'm sure we can. 2 is 58. 2, 29, and I think we stopped there. So we replace this with a 2 to the square root of 29. 2 to the square root of 29. Look at our 3 numbers, the 10, the 2, and the 6. Can we reduce those? We can. A 2 will go into all 3 of those, so we will take, I'll just rewrite it. No, there we go. This is 5 and 3 and 1, which I can just eliminate. The final answer is 3 plus or minus square root of 29 over 5. These will be on your test. I need to speed up here this morning. That is an intense study there. Number 12, these are from yesterday. These are actually more complicated, I think, than the new stuff for today. Here we go. This is a rewrite it. X squared -3x equals, in this case we will leave the 10 on this side rather than do the extra step. All right, remember what we do on these. These are called following the equation by completing the square. What is step number 1? Just coming back to you, the first thing we do is always put a 2 under this number, and then we square it. -3 times -3 is a 9. 2 times 2 is 4. So add these, always add these 2 together. And I gotta get a common denominator to add these together. That looks like a 4 would be. That would make 4 times 10, that's gonna be 40. So my final on this is 49 to the square root of 4, to the 49 to 4. Can we simplify both of these? We can. 49 squared is a 7. 2 squared is a 2. So now we end up with a 7 over 2. We bring this down. This is x squared, so this is going to become a x. And we use this number that we have right here in the simplest form. That is a -3 over 2 and this equals plus or minus this number right here that we've simplified to. In this case, they give us one that we can go on another step. Here we go. First is we're going to do it, rewrite it. X equals, I'm going to move this over to the other side of the equal sign. That becomes a positive 3 over 2 plus or minus a 7 over 2. We have common denominators, so we can combine these. To make this easier for you to understand, we've got a plus or minus. I'm just going to take and erase these and put one at a time. 3 plus 7 is a 10 over 2. Simplified is a equals 5. You agree with that? A positive 5. So there's our answer for that. Erase that. Now I'm going to put the negative sign. Now I got a positive 3 over 2 and a negative 7 over 2. That is a negative 4 over 2. Simplified is a negative 2. So my answer is 5 and a negative 2. That went all the way to a real simple whole numbers. Numbers, that was number 12. Number 13, rewrite it again here. It's a x squared negative 2x equals 5. Step number 1, always the same step. What isn't a step number 1? Place a 2 under this number. Now, and then square it. So 2 divided by 2 is a 1, and that's a negative 1. Negative 1 times a negative 1 is a positive 1. Okay, then 5 plus 1 is a 6, and we square that. Can we simplify that? We cannot. So here's what we have, equals square root of 6. X squared, so we will bring this down as an x. And then what is the answer to negative 2 over 2? It is a negative 1. This one's going to be simple, so we have x. Again, move the negative 1 to the other side of the equal sign. It's a positive 1, and it's always a plus or minus square root of 6. Cannot simplify anything more on that. Here is your answer. That was number 13. Number 14 is x squared plus 2x equals negative. It was a negative 11 here. We're going to put it to the other side. It's going to be positive 11 equals 11. Always the same steps. Keep that in mind. All this algebra, all the way through this whole textbook has been, we memorize the steps. This step is number 1. 2 under there, 2 divided by 2, and we square it. So 2 divided by 2 is a positive 1. Positive 1 times positive 1 is still a 1. So we add this to this side. And 11 plus 1 is 12. Square root of 12, can we simplify 12? I believe we can. 2 is 6, 2 is 3. So we have 2 to the square root of 3 equals 2 to the square root of 3. And x squared, bring that down as an x. And what is it? 2 over 2 is a positive 1. Continue on. We have an x equals, to the other side is a negative 1. Changes the sign. Negative 1 plus or minus 2 to the square root of 3. And we cannot simplify that. Now remember, after all this, remember what we said. We could take this answer, place it where the x is at, and over here's another x, and multiply all that back, and we would come out with our original formula, or our original terms. And understand, this isn't just a bunch of gibberish. This actually works. When you get through solving for x, if you multiply it back, it will get you back to the original. That was 14. We're doing 16. Why 16? I thought you might need reminding. This is a 3/8. First thing we do in this, we separate the square roots. So we've got square root of 3 over the square root of 8. Do we multiply this times the square root of 8 and this times the square root of 8? That brings us to simplifying this to just a 8. And this is going to be the square root of 24. 3 times 8 is square root of 24 over 8. Can we simplify 24? I think so. 24, 2, 12, 2, 6, 2, 3. It's 2 to the square root of 6. Place this with 2 to the square root of 6. Can we still simplify? We have this number and this number. We can simplify that. That's going to be 2 goes into both of that. That would be 1 to the square root of 6 over 4. And we can, of course, eliminate the 1 whenever this is understood to be a 1. There is your final answer. That was number 16. Number 18, graph the following on this. That comes over here on our graph. This is the one that we have to, let me put it up here. Y is x and y is greater than or equal to negative x positive 2. One at a time. This is the same as if we would put equal to start with. Y equals x. And we start off, there is no number out here for the B position, so we just start off on 0. And it is a positive here, positive 1, so it's 1 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is it, right across here. Now it says that y is, let's forget this on the bottom, y is greater than x. If you remember yesterday, we can prove this, but basically you can know that y is greater than, this is your y line, it's going to be up this side of it, somewhere up in here. Let's keep that in mind because we're going to do a second graph. It's going to be on the top side of this somewhere. All right, the next one then is we'll solve for this. This is a positive 2. Start here, and it's a negative 1 over 1. Understand that? Negative 1 over 1. I come down from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll come right across here like this. And we said that y is up. Here again, now we have y is also greater than this line. Where are we going now? First off, we were up on this side, and now it says that y is greater also than this, which puts us, I think, in here. So this is what you're going to be doing. Now you do have one of these on the test, so thoroughly understand that. And if you want to prove this, simply pick out I don't have time here, I'm running out of time. You simply pick out some kind of a point. You can put it right here if you want to. And this would be a 2 on the X line, and a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the Y line. Replace both here with a 4 and this with a 4. And the X, let me erase this, it's a little confusing here. We put 4 here and a 4 here, and the 2 here and here. And if these are proved to be true statements, then we've picked out the right points. Make sense? Must keep moving here. Running the longest lesson I've taught yet, I think. That was number 18. Number 20. Sketch the graph of this, x negative 3 squared positive 1. And what kind of graph is this? The square of this number gives us this type of a sketch. Is that correct? We'll be doing that. So here we go. Here's our homemade graph. You can do this. First off, we'll address this. This is a positive 1 with outside of the inclusive marks, which means it's on the Y line, and a positive 1 is about here. This is in inclusive marks, so we change the -3 to a +3, and that would become on the X line. Excuse me, this is the X line, and this is going to be the Y line. Hopefully you understand that. X +3 is going to become here, so our point is about right here. I want you to always put +1 and a +3 so I know that you picked the right points. Here we go, and it's this type. It is a positive, it's not a negative, so here, this is what I'm going to be writing right here, where it touches this point at the bottom. That was number 20, and Ansley, she said that she struggled with this one. That's why I'm doing this one for you. You should know this. This is number 29, and here's what we have. X plus 4x over 3y. That's the original. 2ax over y plus 4. Many lessons ago, I stressed this point. First off, solve for the numerator. I'm going to erase this and redo it. What's our common denominator? 3y. And I'm going to add 3y to this side here. It already has it here. I have 3xy plus 4x over, the common denominator is 3y. Okay, I've simplified this. Now I go to the bottom. This is a little easier. The common denominator is a y. This already has the y with it. This does not, so I simply put the y over here and draw this across as a common denominator. There's that. Invert it. The y comes up on the top. 2ax plus 4y. Multiply this times this and this times this. Well, first off, we can cross cancel. We can cross cancel the y's. That does maybe with the one, and cross cancel this. The 3 times 1 is still that. Now we're ready to multiply. So this times this is simply 3xy plus 4x. This times this distributive property, 3 times 2a, I'll just do this way so it's simple for you. 3 times 2a is a 6a. 3 times 4y is a positive 12y. That is number 29. And we will do lesson 120 tomorrow. Again, we will skip the new stuff of the box and whisker plot. I don't think we'll learn that, but we will do the lesson so that we review the things that we've learned up to this point. And then the review on Thursday and the test on Friday. I may double up on you, make it a short lesson tomorrow and do the review tomorrow so that we can finish up on Thursday. That pushes you a little bit, but then we don't go into the weekend. I'd love to have those tests back on Friday so that I can do all the scoring and all for you by Monday morning. That concludes it. Have a good day.